Hey, good morning, everybody. It's 9:05 and I'm live. This is Today with Todd, and I'm so glad you could join me today. I am so excited. I've got my special guest here, Donald Trump, with me, and he is joining me for today's broadcast. We're going to talk about making Halloween great again. Isn't that right, Donald? We're gonna make Halloween great again. What do I mean by that today? Well, it is time for us as Christians to take Halloween back. That's right, we're going to take Halloween back. We've got to stop griping and calling this the Devil's Day, Donald. We've got to do this. You know, as you've been on a campaign to make America great again, we've got to do something, because this is the day that the Lord has made. You know, some people think this is an evil day. They think this is a day when Satanists celebrate. But this is the day that the Lord has made, and we're going to rejoice and be glad in it. You know, just a little bit of history as I'm talking with you about this, Donald. This used to be known as All Hallows Eve, or a holy evening. You know, November 1st is All Saints Day. And, you know, most Christian people, they don't celebrate this. You know, we've got to decide at some point, what are our holidays? You know, we've been in a mess concerning these things. But originally, and I'm going to give you a little bit of history. I won't be on long with you this morning, but this was a day when the early church, they would remember the saints, they would remember the martyrs, and everyone who passed away before them, Donald. The Western Church can actually trace its roots to this holiday all the way back to 731 AD. Can you believe that, Donald? That is unbelievable. I mean, this is old. I mean, there's so many tradition rooted in this. But I believe what we have forgotten in today's church is we have forgotten how to be a cultural influence. Isn't that right, Donald? I mean, we've got to influence the culture. So rather than us retreating and refusing to be involved in this, we need to be center stage in the middle of it. That's what the early church did. That's what the church did in 300, 400, 500, 600 AD until 700 AD. I mean, they had basically taken over the holiday of Halloween. So we've got to make Halloween great again, Donald. Many of the customs for Halloween actually derived from the Christian church. Not bringing anybody on, because I got Donald on with me. Many of the customs that we see within what we call Halloween, they were actually derived from the church around 835 AD. As a matter of fact, Donald, in the 12th century, Christians used to make what was called soul cakes, all right? And this is what happened. The Christian people would parade down the street wearing black, and it was to call remembrance to everyone to remember the poor and poor souls. And what they would do is they would bake these little cakes and they would hand them out, Donald, to people. Halloween was actually about looking after those who were poor or poor souls, and they would hand out what was called soul cakes. And this became termed as souling. And this is where the modern practice of trick-or-treating stemmed from. People began to go door to door, and they would collect soul cakes, Donald. Can you believe that? And what did the Christian people do with these soul cakes? They marked a cross on top of them. Can you believe that? I mean, isn't it amazing how the early church, they took what were pagan practices and rituals, and they turned it all toward Christ. They turned it towards the cross. They turned it towards Jesus. They would mark a cross on top of those soul cakes. Well, people started going from house to house collecting soul cakes, and this is where modern trick-or-treating came in. Matter of fact, even the costumes that people wore, it came from and derived from the early church. Because many churches were too poor to put on display, Donald. They were poor. I mean, Halloween was all about helping the poor. They would display, most churches displayed relics of martyrs who had passed on, but there were many churches that were too poor and they didn't have these relics. So what their priests would do was they just let people dress up as saints, and this is where the modern costumes come from. So Donald, this is where we've got to meet the culture, and we've got to make Halloween great again. We have let this just slip through our hands. People are literally coming to our doors, and we're just letting them pass by without ever influencing the culture. We've got to become a cultural influence. I'm so glad that you are a cultural influence, Donald. We've got to make Halloween great again. How are we going to do that? Through Christ. We've got to take this center stage. We've got to stop closing the door and saying this is Satan's day, this is the devil's day, this is a dark day, no, this is the day that the Lord has made. We're not only going to rejoice and be glad in it, but we're going to be a cultural influence. Hey, I want you to strive to make Halloween great again. It's not Satan's day. This is God's day. We're going to take this day, and we're going to take it by force. But we've got to decide today, are we going to be a cultural influence? Hey, thank you for joining me, Donald. We're going to do this. We're going to make Halloween great again. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.